Wait, what was that?
Oh god, cut that out. I don't want to sound like an idiot. Cut that out, please. Fucking A.
The fight where we had to do certain things.
Now we just get to hear.
Heroes!
3, 2, 1.
All right, welcome back to Server Restart In. It's a weekly World of Warcraft podcast where three opinionated players like to get together to discuss their thoughts and opinions about the current state of the game. My name is Jim, joined by Kristen.
Hi.
And Brian.
Hi.
And this week we're going to talk about things related to World of Warcraft. Not quite sure what yet, but we'll find something.
Some things.
On a more positive note, I was able to get my equipment replaced, and we are now currently using it again.
Yay.
Yeah.
Wait, do the applause thing.
No.
Aw.
No.
You need the yay from
No. If I can get
Monty Python.
yay.
No, you need heroes.
Hero. Oh. Oh, no. All right. Stay tuned next week
What is just an
for
episode?
soundboard disasters. A new podcast where we just throw random shit on a soundboard and hit the button. I guess one of the newest things came out in retail was they hit their $1 million donation mark for their charity fund that they were doing. I think it was Doctors Without Borders or whatever. So that the sloth pet is now available. So you can go to the Blizzard store and claim it for free and all that stuff. I guess at 500,000 they had the bananas, little monkey.
Oh, people are mad about that. Well, somebody was mad about that on the forums too, because they're mad because it was a trading card game pet thing, I guess. And so people were mad. They're like, some people only had, one valuable thing from WoW. That was their most valuable thing. And now everybody is going to have it. And then somebody else pointed out, well, I guess bananas is, if you're familiar with battle pet stats, was B/B, which just means it's a balanced pet. Whereas you could get a straight up power pet with the baby ape. Which was the trading card one, I guess.
Wait, so is it just the same model? Does it have the same name? No. So it's not the same pet.
Essentially the same model. Yeah.
There's like 18 different fucking raptor pets.
I know. People are just, it was the general forums.
Fuck?
People just bitch to bitch. Some of the things are not well thought out.
Anyway,
complaints.
let's not talk about people's shitty attitudes, and let's talk about the fucking sloth pet.
Which looks ridiculous. So I got it on my druid, and I beckoned him to come up on my back, and he's huge on a Zandalari druid's boomkin form. Like, huge. And then I shifted into my normal caster form, and he's teeny tiny again. It looks ridiculous.
So it's just like a backpack
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah, you summon it, and it's on the ground, and if you walk away from it, it starts to follow you.
Slowly.
But the damn thing just moves like dirt-ass fucking slow. So
Does it disappear if you get too far away?
Haven't tried that yet.
Tried that.
But, like, it's just slowly crawl.
It is very slow.
You go away, like, 10 yards, and you wait 5 minutes, and it shows up.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
But yeah, if you slash back, and it basically becomes a back transmog.
Yep.
And, it just hangs around your neck or whatever, which is probably the only way it can get places quick. So, but...
So how do you actually claim it?
You go to the Blizzard store, like the website, and...
On the launcher?
It might have a link for it.
Yeah, just go into the web page.
Oh, I see. Maybe I wonder if I actually did the monkey one then.
You might not have. You got to, I think, later in the year to claim them both, so... Yeah, you just get it from there, but it's a neat little thing, and I guess it's a good cause and all that stuff. I mean, I guess the cutoff was tomorrow, so
Oh yeah, it's in the launcher. I
What? The
see.
cutoff is
Yeah.
tomorrow?
for the donation.
Oh, I
For
thought you
them
meant
to-
for
no.
claiming it. I'm
Sorry,
like,
no.
holy crap.
Yeah, no, it's like you guys got 72 hours. Get on it.
Claim it or that's it. It's gone forever.
And people come. It's like I was on vacation for him. Sorry, fuck you. It's like I was working with Doctors Without Borders. I was stationed somewhere. I didn't have access. Sorry. Yeah, you guys get $1 million. You don't need to pay.
Oh yeah, you're right. That the bananas pet, the model is an old. You can tell it's an old model.
Because it's
Like
it just looks
the
old.
design of it. Yeah.
Which whatever. There's so many. Is it the exact same coloration? You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't give a shit about that. But yeah, that's a good point. It's just funny that they use that instead.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care.
Give me
It's another pet.
the ethereal tiger mount.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Spectral
It's-
tiger is that what it's called?
Yeah, the spectral tiger. It's another pet to add to my collection now that I don't have a
Nope.
limit.
You still have a limit.
Yeah, I don't.
9.1 hasn't come out yet.
I know, but it's not like I'm near 2,000 for my. That's still. They should give you a refund on those goddamn freaking pet charms that you spent. Actually, I didn't do pet charms for that. I don't think. I think I did an achievement to get that.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah. So I guess speaking of 9.1, there's I guess I saw something somewhere. Ian Hazakastas put something out there about. I guess it's like a poll, kind of to see what people want to come out first, whether it's 9.1 or Burning Crusade Classic, because they don't plan on releasing them at the same time, right?
Oh, good God. Who cares?
I mean, obviously they care.
Do both so I can do 9.1 for an hour. Whenever I'm done with 9.1, I could go for New Burning Crusade.
Yeah.
Wait, what was that?
I was making a joke about 9.1 is not going to be that long.
No, she completely missed everything. They're looking to see what people would prefer first because they don't want to release them. They're not planning on releasing them at the same time. I think they're trying
You
No,
to.
see
I
this,
missed
that-
the first part of what you said. Like, you don't go back far enough.
Ian Hazakastas put out a post saying something about a poll about what people would want to be released first, 9.1 or TBC Classic,
Oh, okay.
because they don't want to release them at the same time.
I see.
Is she over there playing Final Fantasy?
I'm fishing.
I'm not saying anything.
I'm fishing in Final Fantasy. Yes, I am.
Oh.
I derped for 1 minute. It's not like I'm not contributing or anything.
okay.
I derped.
I-
I was
I'm gonna
reading
derp for
forums.
fun.
I'm reading somebody complaining about the Mythic Plus gearing on the forums and trying to do 3 things at once. So it's fine.
Do you have a link for the Ian thing that you're talking about?
Yeah, let me throw it in there. It seems that there was a somebody did an interview and they were talking about it. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I don't know. What would you guys want? I don't really.
I don't care.
It doesn't matter.
I
to
would
me.
rather have 9.1 to be honest. Like,
I mean, honestly, I'm probably not going to play much of 9.1 either, so it legitimately does not matter to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care one way or the other. It is what it is. So, I don't know. It doesn't really matter to me. I mean, if you release people that are going to be playing Burning Crusade, I mean, sure, if you release it, a bunch of people are going to jump in, do their stuff, get their stuff set up, and start playing it. But if they release 9.1, they're going to probably go back if they're still playing retail.
one of the comments on here says "Screw Craplands." Craplands. That's great.
But yeah, I don't know. Release them at the same time. Release them a day apart. Who gives a shit? People are going to play what they want to play. If people have a choice, then they make a choice. 9.1 isn't going to be around forever. and if they're in some sort of
Well, my fear is 9.1 is going to be weak. It's going to be
Yeah.
weak, and we have such high expectations at this point, just because we're in
a drought.
a hurry up and wait. So, I think it's going to be disappointing, unfortunately, and I don't think that's something they could fix. And like at this point,
I don't have high expectations.
Well, you don't have high expectations for anything in World of Warcraft. So, I mean,
I did. That was what sucks.
Mm.
I had high expectations for Shadowlands. I did, and maybe that's part of the problem that I had is my expectations were so high that when it came out, it didn't meet him.
I don't know. I don't think you really did. I think that
did.
you were very negative going into it because you didn't
No.
like a lot of the changes that they were doing.
No. That was BFA.
That
was BFA. Shadowlands I was very excited about. I
big
mean,
fucking anus. Is that what that means?
BFA. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice, Brian.
yeah. I
Nice.
mean, that's,
Nice.
Yeah, BFA I definitely was not looking forward to, but Shadowlands I was, they didn't change druids in any appreciable way in Shadowlands. So it was fine. I didn't have any problems. I'm not looking forward to 9.1 cuz even if it is a moderate nerf, they're nerfing druids and I don't agree with that. But
Well, nobody ever wants them to nerf their class.
no, and I mean, the problem that I have is I don't agree with letting a playstyle ride for an entire patch cycle and then nerfing it the next patch cycle. If it's that much of a fucking problem, nerf it then. And don't let people get used to that playstyle.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and even if don't be a hard nerf, like ease them into it. Like, it doesn't have to be that drastic,
Yeah. I mean, and not that, like, I honestly, I have not been paying any attention. And, I have not been reading the Druid Discord to see. Normally, I'm, like, right all up in there, like, oh, what is going on? That's where I saw, that the nerf wasn't that bad. But it still impacts my gameplay quite a bit because I'm not a top-notch player. I do okay. I'm decent, but I'm not great. And that Stellar Drift nerf is going to impact me because I'm not a great player. And I use that to adjust to be able to adjust to mechanics, because with Stellar Drift, I'm able to cast while moving, while in that Stellar Drift circle, right? Now, had they never made that change to begin with, it would have been better, right? So the problem that I have is they made the change to the Druid Starfall radius, right? They centered it on the character instead of making it how it was, where it was a ground targeted thing. And so you laid it down on the ground in a certain area. And then if you stepped in it and you had Stellar Drift, then you could cast while moving. But if you moved out of it, you couldn't cast while moving, which if they would have left it like that, they wouldn't have had this problem. But they changed it so it was on a radius around the character. And now when you take Stellar Drift, you can move wherever you want. And because it's centered on you, you're never stepping out of that. If they wouldn't have made that change, they wouldn't have had to make this nerf. And it would have been, it would have continued to be just kind of a niche talent that you would take sometimes when it was worthwhile, but not a talent that you would take all the time because it was always objectively better. You know what I mean? Even though you're losing DPS somewhat on it, you're making up for that DPS because you're able to cast while you're moving. You know what I mean? Now, that's just my own opinion. I am not a druid expert. That's just from my, from my limited gameplay with it. I mean, druid is all I play, but you know what I mean? That's just from I'm not a high-end Mythic Plus raider. I am not, a Mythic raider. So, you know what I mean? But that's just from the low end, from the peanut gallery of druids. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they have all the people talking who are like the good druids, the Naguras and the frickin', the dudes from, what's the
Huh?
Limit. The dudes
Oh.
from Limit sang Helios and Godzilla. They have them who are able to adjust very well because they're amazing druid players. And then you've got the people who are like me, who are, just kind of eking out the best that they can and min-maxing to give themselves that little bit of an edge because they're not that good. And so they need that. You know what I mean? So that's where it feels like it hits people a little bit more, is the people who aren't that good. And it doesn't really impact the people who are that good. Does that make sense? Crickets? You should do the crickets thing. Yeah. Sorry, I went on a tangent. I guess you could block that off if you want. I don't.
Why would he cut it out?
I don't know.
No, you.
Why would you block it?
I already blocked it out.
Oh.
I just stopped listening when you said druid.
No,
I mean,
no.
I feel like that's what happened. Like, everybody just stopped listening when I said druid. God damn,
I mean-
I'm passionate about druids. I love druids. I love playing my druid, and it's frustrating when things like that get changed.
I get it. I cannot bring myself to be that, I guess, passionate about the class I play.
It's because you're a good player. You say that, but you have an army of DKs. You have a DK
okay.
in every single race.
Only on the horde side, and that's not necessarily the same thing, right? Just because I make characters doesn't mean that I am, like a top DK player. I couldn't tell you one DK player that is like top of the class. Not a single one. I don't know them. I don't care.
I know a couple who are pretty good. You're really good, though. I mean,
Yeah.
I think you are. It's not just because I'm married to you.
I was going to say, you kind of have to.
Yeah, she's very biased.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just like, I'll look up a little bit of stuff when like there's major changes to the class, to kind of see recommended talents and all that stuff. And I take it with a grain of salt and I go, does that fit my play style? Or is that, I'll just go with it and just play it. It's like, I don't know. I don't get into the nuts and bolts of it that much.
I just think that it sucks that Blizzard makes nerfs because they see, probably they see high-end players getting these crazy, huge, parses and stuff like that. And they're like, oh my God, these high-end players are doing, such great stuff, and then there's the rest of us. But then they nerf it, and those high-end players are still going to be doing that stuff. So it's very frustrating when I feel like they make nerfs based on what the high-end players are doing, and the rest of us low-end players are stuck holding the bag, and we're never, you know what I mean?
You should never hold the bag.
Because they're gonna be fine no matter what, because they're high-end players, and they know what they're doing, and they, you know what I mean? They have that Twitch mentality ingrained in, or they have, that situational awareness that, they don't have to, they make very few mistakes and they don't have to account for as many mistakes as a normal player makes.
You said Twitch. I just want to make sure you're talking about muscle spasm type stuff, not the actual website,
not
right?
the website.
Just making sure.
Yes.
Because, there is a Twitch mentality.
There is a Twitch mentality too, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Twitch gameplay mentality. Yes. I don't know. That's frustrating.
I don't know. I can see how it's frustrating. I can also see how, when you are trying to balance 12, how many classes are there? 10 or 12 classes or something like that? 12 classes? I don't know. When you're trying to balance, and then you add in all the specs, so, roughly 36, give or take, I don't know. There's a lot that goes into it, and one change affects everything. And when you're trying to balance it, It's just like you can't see what all the high-end players are going to do because there's no time in beta or whatever for them to necessarily get to that pinnacle that is the plateau of the patch, right? It's like we're at the end of the patch. Maybe the druid stuff wasn't that powerful until they started adding new things in, like the Mythic Plus gearing stuff, where people were able to finally unlock Venari and start getting sockets and just start putting shit everywhere, and then really boost the numbers and all that stuff to where you start hitting the 1% of the bell curve that most people are never going to hit, and it exposes tiny things that the closer you get to that top percentage, the more like their impact is greater. So by making a tweak, it reins in the higher end ones, and it's less of an impact on the lower levels, number wise at least. I don't know. It's a hard thing to do.
Sure. But again, I mean, then that tells me that there's some sort of, like, again, going back to the nerfing things when they realize that they're a problem, instead of letting it ride for an entire patch cycle. Like, that tells me that there's either they're not being managed well, or they don't care. Like, they're like, okay, well, let's,
Well, okay, so there's things are a problem, and then there's things that are we don't necessarily like how this is playing out.
Yeah.
Right? So if it was an unfair advantage or game breaking or something like that, then, by all means, hotfix it. But if it's something that they want to address coming forward when they're doing something, they have a little bit more time to prepare it. Because, I mean, maybe they made these changes on the PTR just to test them to see what they are like going forward. And like you don't get hot fix free
Hot fish.
Hot fish.
You don't get hot fish PTRs.
Hot fish.
Hot fish, exactly. You get PTRs for the patches, and that's the time where they can say, okay, what if we did this? Let's see how it looks before it becomes a permanent change kind of thing. So I mean, there's it's a delicate balancing act of when you do something, because if you just hit everything with a hammer, what's the saying? If the only tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Mm.
Every problem begins to look like a nail. And so if they were to take that mentality of, well, this is out of line, hammer it down kind of thing, you would have nothing but hot fix after hot fix after hot fix, like weekly, of shit just being tuned. Whereas they can look at it and say, well, this isn't really something that is impacting the game right now, but it doesn't really fall in line with our vision of how we want it to work. So we will start formulating a response for this, and then before the next patch, put it on the PTR, see how it plays out, see what the reception is, see if it's something that's really, if the change is too detrimental or if it's not enough, tweak it and all that stuff. Because that's a little sandbox where they can have real people on testing it, and make quick changes without impacting live. So I think it may feel like they're just like, we're just going to let it ride and fix it later. But that might not really be the case.
I mean, but they do let it ride for the entire patch cycle.
Yeah.
Whereas if they did more, like, I think the problem is they got rid of half their QA team when they, like, laid people off. And so they don't have anybody doing that. So they put all of that stuff on the patch things, Whereas they could have,
I don't know. I don't think testing balancing is a QA thing per se.
I mean, who tests balancing? We do. We're not.
Yeah, you
yeah,
can't,
but we're not. That's we don't get paid to do that.
They're not.
That's not our job.
They're not testing. Quality testing is just most likely making sure that everything's functioning correctly, and there's you probably have different levels of it, and they probably do some testing, but I guarantee you the people that work at Blizzard are not the best of the best because they don't have the time to dedicate to just playing the game. They have to maintain the game, and that's what I mean. So like they're not.
Well, not to mention that a lot of their balances are most likely based off a huge chunk of current data
Right.
that's been collected over the patch, and then to follow up their QA testing is really more of a functional testing set up in order to make sure that balancing, that rebalancing that they do doesn't fuck up everything else.
Right.
So,
yeah,
I think in there, unfortunately, in that case, like, yeah, I don't even know how you. I mean, you would have to have something so elaborate to be able to test such a very specific live scenario at the level that they can gather and aggregate all that data from live. They're just better off to test balancing acts like that. And I think in reality, like the reality of it is what you said earlier, Kristen, was correct. They should do it as soon as possible. But I also think that like if they do it incrementally, they can continue to gather the data they need. And I'm not saying they don't do this now. They probably do. Like they got this shit figured out by all means. But if they did those changes more incrementally, if it affects players at other levels in that spectrum, right? From fresh 60 or max level all the way up to mythic level Twitch, whatever you want to call them, right? If that spectrum, right? If they, in order to see where it affects the most, to make sure that they are fixing precision areas and not affecting everybody else, they should incrementally make those changes so they can see those results and continue to do that. Because that's the best testing they're going to be able to get. There's no reason to make drastic changes, and even if they're just very minimal changes.
But then
the fortunate thing about computing is that you can make very, very, very fine-grained changes. So,
but they're trying to be transparent about the changes they're putting in, right? So if they are putting in changes into the live game incrementally, every couple of days with a hotfix, and then something seriously creates an imbalance, and then they have to roll it back. You know what I mean? That's like, it just doesn't. That's not a real efficient way to work.
Well, I don't think it wouldn't be like a hot fix per se. Like I wouldn't think that a lot of that stuff you're not going to see client side. You're going to see a lot more server side processing in the case of balancing data points, where you shouldn't even nobody should even be aware of it. They should just be able to see, you know what I mean, a big amounts of data, make their assessments, and provide those changes. And I guarantee you that's a lot of the way it probably works now. Now, maybe they are just aggregating data at a certain point and they're deciding, hey, we've heard people bitch about this. Let's gather the data and make a decision about it. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But reality is they probably have the power to pull trends and patterns in their data, even at the different levels on that spectrum between fresh player, max level, and hardcore, Yeah. So they should be able to see that, and they can make, just as well as I do, they can make fine-grained changes and see how that plays out. And if it's, you know what I mean, like it's there. I think it's just a matter of like, my fear is they operate like a shitty enterprise, like any other shitty enterprise, I guess you might say. Somebody pulled a spreadsheet 3 months ago and they've been fighting to push a change for the last 3 months.
Oh, God.
Email tagging and everything else, and it finally got pushed through. That's probably what it is.
Yeah, lost in the red tape. They should really just spin up a bunch of Dockers.
Yeah.
And just have AI bots play the game.
That would be pretty cool if they had something like that. Like just maybe they do. I don't know. Again, I don't know what
that
their setup
sounds
is.
like-
I'm sure they got something
Yeah.
very, I don't want to say futuristic. That's not the word, but you know what I mean? Like very modern in terms of end-to-end testing. And hopefully it's one of them. But at the end of the day, you can't beat millions of people, even if it's one class, right? Even if you got hundreds of thousands of people playing one class, one specific spec, a certain way, that's still tons of data over this much time thus far that they could mine into,
Right, and I'm sure they do. It's, I don't know. I tend to not think that they just see an issue and just decide to sit on it without legitimate reason. Like I can't see it's like, well, we're just not going to do it until then because we don't want to devote the manpower to doing it, or we just don't want to rock the boat too much mid whatever, you know what I mean? It's just like, and maybe, I don't know, are the Mythic Dungeons International or Invitational stuff still going on?
Oh God, I don't even know.
Well, I mean, that could be an issue too.
And give them a special build so they can do their flat, normalized
Oh, absolutely.
competition and be done.
Yeah, but make it a separate game. Make it a separate game.
Make it a separate game.
Kind of like,
WoW BR.
Oh God!
Oh my God!
King of the Hill.
King of the Kill.
Did you say King of the Kill?
That's what I thought you said. King of the Kill.
Yeah, isn't that what they called it? They called H1Z1 when they split the game in half.
Oh, I thought it was just King of the Hill. I didn't even pay attention.
No, I think
to
it's
that.
King of the Kill. I think it's.
I wish they would have left H1Z1 alone. I wish they would have left so we could.
H1Z1's completely gone now.
I thought the Battle Royale version was still out there. Or is that?
Oh, is it? It might be actually.
It
yeah,
is.
well, that tells you how much I know.
Okay, well, we used to play the survival mode. That was fun.
That was fun.
Especially when people would come kill us in our base.
Well, yeah. And too, like you could never find weapons, and if you found a weapon, you never found ammo for it. It was all kinds of stuff, yeah.
Yeah. But
King of the Kill, that's what it's called. Sorry, just clarifying.
Yeah. That's a good name for a battle royale. You know?
Yeah, but it was terrible.
Yeah. One thing I did see coming out of the 9.1 PTR stuff is Blizzard is introducing a list of what they're calling reserved words that will not be sent in chat. So if you type a certain word, it will not be filtered. This message will not be sent.
Huh.
It's primarily, I guess right now, a limited set, and it's probably, I don't know the exact words, but I'm pretty sure they're racial slurs.
Sure.
Which makes sense. But the reason that this is suspected to be there is because they're adding a new accessibility option. Text to speech.
That's right.
They're adding text to speech.
They are.
In the game, and you can set which channels you want and, what triggers it and all that stuff.
Even better reason to turn off trade if you haven't already.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it works in trade. I think it's...
Thank God.
I mean, Baron's chat would be the best place to have this turned on. Come on. It looks like it's all your raid channels, creature say. So I don't know if that counts for regular say. No, say's on there too. So it's all your main channels that are not like the general numbered channels. So no general, no trade chat, no custom channels. It looks like, but like guild, officer, party, yell, whispers, Blizzard whispers, and all that stuff.
No custom chats, really?
It doesn't look like it.
Huh.
I mean, I don't know. The article I read or was reading about it was kind of dumb a little bit. And it was just like, this one sentence just kind of like rubbed me the wrong way. And it's like, it's worth pointing out, however, that accessing the accessibility options is not very accessible. It's how more accessible can it be? It's like you turn it on and you get something over your chat thing, but if you have a disability such that you can't open the menu and navigate a menu, and I don't know if it's they
Well,
say
which part of accessibility are they talking about? Like,
I don't know.
because if you're blind, yeah, there is an issue there.
Well, they also said,
I mean, they do have blind people who play the
it
game.
requires. Okay, no, they say accessibility tab of the game menu, which requires visually seeing the menu and manipulating the game cursor. Whereas more thorough accessibility would include navigation methods such as tab to cycle through interactive elements, like interactive elements on a web page. But that's not built into the game at all anyway. You have to be able to manipulate the cursor and click on things for everything in this game.
You can't tap through stuff on it. I don't think I've
in
ever
the
tried
menus.
stuff
Absolutely
like
not.
that. Yeah.
None of the menus have tab functionalities built into
Well,
them.
in that case, I mean, maybe they're just pointing out that in general it's never been there.
Well,
it just seems like a
and
pretty low blow.
and to be fair,
Well, I mean, they deserve it though.
they could be starting. They could be moving in that direction. I mean, especially with the with how popular Twitch is and showing other people playing gameplay, it might not have been something that they had necessarily considered before, that there was such a big population of people who were impaired. You know what I mean? So now they're starting.
Well, it's also assuming that like they haven't partnered with accessibility software to provide. You know what I mean? Because most people that look for those. I worked with a blind person at my previous job as a software engineer, and he was a software engineer, and he was actually working to provide more accessibility to IT applications, because a lot of the development, the perspective and development there at the time was, I mean, accessibility wasn't in the pipeline in terms of the development lifecycle. But what he had was he had a suite of software that he used on his own computer that helped him walk through a lot of those things. Now, it would automatically look for hooks, like on web pages and stuff. I think Aria or something like that is what it looks for. But in certain applications, I think they help provide hooks into those. So,
oh yeah.
What this person that Jim referred to may not know is that those things exist, and World of Warcraft might have used an interface of some sort or something that is already hooked into Windows,
Right.
or whatever OS that provides that connection.
Right.
So,
yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know.
So even still, back and forth, like accessibility is a big deal, and if you've had a product around for this long, such as they have, it maybe not to people that don't require that on a regular basis.
Right.
They may not notice that, but in general, if you don't have that, I would lowball them too, just because it's important. And when you have a wide range of people that enjoy, playing stuff like this, you need to make sure that you're working to do stuff like that. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. Like, I mean, obviously, but you don't necessarily think about that stuff if you're, like you were saying, if you're not you know what I mean? Like if you don't have those
those perspectives, yeah. If
Right.
you're not using it on a regular basis, you don't have that. Well, I think a lot of the things too is technology. Technology's come a long way, at least in the last 15 years, compared to 30 years or so. And a lot of the ways that companies create software are just old school still, right? And they're weeding that out over time and evolving to a modern workflow. But accessibility is one of those things. And even in IT in general, designing software from a user experience perspective is still very much a new concept that doesn't sit in a developer's lap. There are people out there that actually exceed at developing user interfaces that have accessibility built in. They understand what users are looking for.
Yeah.
Right? It's tailored to the user's need, whereas the developer is just trying to solve the problem. And oh, by the way, here's something you can click on to do it too.
Yes.
So, but that that's still a big battle in the software development industry to kind of turn that perspective a little bit so that the a lot of it gets just baked in automatically. So, but anyways, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm looking forward to text-to-speech, though. I think it's going to be fun to play with. Because I remember when we had it in Discord, and we would just have a lot of weird things said. And it was
I
fun.
mean, that was funny a few times, but have
Yeah.
I don't know about if you guys use Android phones, I have an iPhone, and dude, half the time when I do text-to-speech on my, when I'm trying to text my wife or something like that, I gotta stop it. And I know it's my accent. Like,
No,
I have
that's speech to text.
I got some.
That's the opposite.
Wait, what?
I'm talking
God,
about.
cut that out. I don't want to sound like an idiot. Cut that out. please.
No.
Cut that out.
No, that one's gonna
cut it out.
That one's gonna say
No,
because
that
no,
out.
you
I
want me to say something bad, so you have to cut all this out.
I know what you were trying to say. You're talking about, talking to have it transcribe what
Okay,
you're
hold
saying.
on.
I'm talking
rewind,
about
rewind. Rewind. What is it again?
text to speech when in Discord. When you have it turned on, it'll read.
No, I know about Discord. I'm talking about the WoW one. That's
It's text to speech. Yes, it
So-
reads out your chat.
Yeah.
It's-
Motherfucker.
That whole thing that we were
I'm
talking.
sitting here the whole time, like
No,
taking this perspective because I'm so salty about
No.
the iPhone and the way it listens to my voice.
no, but Brian,
Frickin' iPhone.
Brian, everything you said still applies about what they're doing, right? This is more just giving people an auditory thing as
Which-
opposed to it's not speech to text. It's not.
So maybe.
No, right. No, now we just get to hear.
So maybe Jim will stop hearing the phone ring during raids and Mythic Pluses.
Unless you have shit,
I could.
whisper yourself or something, and you have
No,
to set.
I still like the weak auras. I use the
hate
weak
that.
aura.
I don't know.
Oh God! I hope it stops after a while. It's gonna be like Twitch whenever they do like
Yes. Oh, I
text to
hate
speech to
that.
Twitch.
You
Oh,
can
it's annoying.
and they're just waiting.
Yep.
you can adjust the rate of speech.
Honestly, if I were the streamers, I would charge $20 a text to speech message, like because that would you have to be really, really, really hardcore into wanting to do that to pay the $20. You know what I mean? Like where they put it for like $1 text to speech. What? Nobody cares about $1. They're going to do it, and you're just going to have all of the entire thing is just going to be filled up with people doing that. La 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 la. 111111777777711. You know what I mean? Like it's just so annoying. It's like what?
I don't know. That turned out to be a lot more fun discussion than I thought it was going to be.
111111111.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to abuse the fuck out of it. I'm going to turn it on. It's going to be great.
I mean,
Oh,
you're
it's gonna be
just gonna
I mean,
hear.
I'm just going to hear it. That's fine.
Yeah.
And it's just going to make me laugh. I'll just be laughing all the time.
I mean, I'm gonna hear it too. So.
Just
I mean,
recycle
I don't
it
know.
back into your input.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I had to listen to your stupid weak wars, so you can fucking deal.
Aw.
Oh, especially the poop water one.
That is a great
It sounds like a turd falling
It
into a
does
toilet.
sound like a. It
It's a
does.
splash sound. It's so yeah.
Yeah.
But-
it's- yep. Yep. It does
So-
sound like that. Yep. Yep. Shing.
So one of the things I guess I really wanted to talk about, not talk to. I can't talk to the topics. They are inanimate objects. They do not exist. A while back, a couple people were discussing some things about game mechanics that seemed to be gone by the wayside.
Oh, things that we missed.
Yeah, and like things that were engaging in the game that they have pretty much removed.
Yeah.
And part of this is it pretty much just like it was mainly taunting and aggro dumps were basically, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I
like
miss aggro
it
dumps.
used to be you had to wait for the tank to build up threat before you could really go do your DPS rotations. Because if you pulled threat, you were basically going to wipe the party of the raid or whatever, right? You know, and you had classes that had threat dumps. Warlocks had Soul Shatter, right?
Priests still do have fade, which is nice, but
Yeah, I mean, and hunters have played dead, but it's not as important. That stuff's mainly for solo gameplay, really, if you think about it anymore.
oh no. I mean, if you're a priest and you're healing, you're gonna get a lot of threat. So you definitely
Okay, maybe on like
yeah.
multiple mobs, like big packs of mobs, but usually on a boss, not so much.
Right.
But, you know, it's like the only thing that's really kind of stuck around is like your tank swap stuff, right? From that, like, and that's really only what you use for taunt because for the most part, they've adjusted the threat generation to where you have to be in a group with somebody who's just stupid geared druid casting convoke to pull threat on pull.
Yeah.
And it's just like those kind of mechanics for those types of fight. I kind of miss that. You know what I mean? It's just like having to
Do
go in and be smart about.
I do.
Yes, I do. It makes the
Yeah.
fight more involved if you have to watch your threat
Yep.
and know when to back off instead of it just going and just worrying about mechanics. You make that face, but it made the
I
fight.
I'm serious. It was just all it was installing an threat meter and then making sure that you didn't go over it
Yeah.
after you waited before, the pool, you just wait. The other part, or even like in BC hunters got misdirect. And you did misdirect on the tank, so you could help him pull the mobs and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that's great, but like at the end of the day, even as a tank, all it was like a warrior tank. Make sure you keep up your sunders,
Right.
and that was it. Like that was the biggest concern because you weren't making big hits, you weren't doing crits, you could still miss all this stuff. Like there was so much they baked into the game now. Like with you hit harder, you get bigger crits. All that the weights of that threat, right? They're built into those attacks now, where you kind of feel like a regular person. And then now you can actually focus on encounter stuff, right? And they can actually build in encounter stuff for tanks, as opposed to just being a meat shield before, because that's
but-
really all it fucking was.
But they don't really build in that much mechanic stuff for tanks. I mean, it's still
They do,
swap.
though, quite a bit.
They don't have
Right,
as
the-
many mechanics as the DPS have. Like not
Sure, and
hardly.
they're never going to, but there's a lot of drag and swap and pull and all this kind of stuff from a tank perspective, where you got to keep it right. You still have to mitigate your damage that coming in, and the boss facing and stuff like that's a big deal. All kinds of crap like that. And I just like, I don't know. I guess that's one, like from a DPS perspective, it was fun to trap and all that other stuff with mob packs and work through it. But at the end of the day, yeah, like waiting to open up on a mob was kind of annoying.
No, see, I like that. I like that whole you have to watch your threat. I miss having Omen installed. I think it was KT threat meter before. Before that. I miss that. I miss in Wrath. I had to have DBM set up on my Shadow Priest with when I hit a certain threshold for threat, it said you will die. The thing for that, you hear in all the stuff, the DBM stuff. And I knew when I hit that point, I knew when I hit that point, I needed to fade. on my Shadow Priest, because otherwise I was going to pull threat and we were going to wipe. I mean, I liked that. I thought that was an important thing because it made you more, you still had to pay attention. You still had to watch where your threat was, to know. And I like that. To me, it makes sense. You should have to wait to freaking, I don't like the current burst mentality where you just go in and freaking unload everything in the first, I hate that. You should be able to go in and let the tank get threat. And then once the tank gets threat, then you should be able to go in and, it should be a balancing act. It shouldn't be going whole hog, you know.
Yeah. There are parts, like I do agree. There are parts that I do miss quite a bit because when you get down to it, if I had to trade more encounter based stuff in a fight and go back to just managing those simple things, I probably would, just because it would make it feel, if I could feel less powerful in the game as a player, right? So I feel more just like a mortal thing, right? Instead of this amazing
God
hero
walking
champion
him,
of the universe.
Walker.
I would take it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And in this case, like, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I can't say I loved managing threat, but the only time that I recall ever having real issues with it was on a hunter, and that was when I was doing decent DPS in a fight. But otherwise, like, I was tanking a lot, and I found it really frustrating, especially in BC, when Paladins came to Horde, and then they gave, at the end of Vanilla, they gave Paladins some tanking abilities.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was they had a taunt, like you had to cast a spell on the mob to get the mob, or no, or there's some kind of taunt. It was weird, and they gave us righteous defender or righteous something that just made us generate more threat across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, and in BC, I don't remember if this was in Vanilla, but in BC we had it was BC or Lich King. I don't recall. I think it was BC because this is when it was still challenging to tank a little bit. But you had to drop light and wisdom seals to help balance out your healing and mana, and they did less threat generation, and you had to cycle in something else, as far as I recall. I remember it being a pain in the ass to tank as a paladin in the end of the expansion, but as a lower level. Like, I wasn't raiding at all with that character. I was only doing dungeons. So the gear that I had was that level,
Mm-hmm.
or PvP or something, and it was just challenging to try and keep that going. As opposed to a warrior, the warrior had if you drop your sunders, and I think you drop 5, keep 5 up at a time. That would get you ahead, and then your shield slam or whatever you were, your hard hitting thing, revenge maybe, would keep your threat up all the time. So the only issue that you had there was, like, if another mob dropped, then you kind of have to play back and forth to
Mm-hmm.
make sure your sunders didn't fall off.
Right.
It was just, there's a lot of gameplay aspect to that whole, I would call it a feature or something of that nature, because it's way more involved. Now it seems like a blip in history, but
Yeah.
it was way more involved, and it created more of that lower level gameplay, right? Where you're not dancing around puddles and stuff like that. You're just managing your character. It's kind of good. It's
Yeah.
kind of, it kind of aligns with, like, the quest life cycle.
Yeah.
Whereas now you go do a quest in 5 minutes. Well, earlier today when I was playing Classic with my son, it took us 45 minutes to
Yeah.
get a quest done.
Yeah.
Like, that difference there, that's the same type of, like, bring it back down to earth mentality that they've taken out of the game.
Yeah.
Right.
I think I would enjoy a lot of, but at the same time, I still have reservations on some of the just the ways it was.
Yeah.
I want the fights to feel more dangerous. Like
Right
right now,
You mean out in the
Danger's
world?
Your middle
Yes.
name.
Danger is my middle name.
I don't have any coffee left. I'm just holding my cup.
Yeah, I'm almost done too. I have to refill my mug.
Yeah, me too.
No, like there's sure if you fuck up a mechanic or whatever, it's a wipe, big deal, right? But it's like there's specific points where these things can happen. Whereas it used to be if everybody was not on the same page or something like that, you could lose threat and things could just go sideways even faster. And it feels more real that way. Whereas now it's like, okay, we're just going in and we're following a certain steps to do it. Or, to me, it just feels less like how I imagine it in my mind. It's like I read a lot of fantasy books and you see all this shit and like they go fight a big bad guy and, for whatever reason, he just isn't, playing by the fight rules kind of thing and just does random shit. And like, there's nothing really similar to that. It's like, I mean, sure, sometimes you have a boss that'll just.
There was definitely more unpredictability when you didn't have such precise mechanics involved.
Yeah.
Because I will say the one thing that bothers me now is that, okay, sure, the fights are pretty cool when you go through them once or twice, but at that point, there's a pattern, and we just know the pattern, and as soon as we line up to it, then we're good to go.
Yeah,
right?
it's predictable.
It's not oh, I messed up, and then now we got to recover using this weird method, like, because that did happen a lot. I mean, I healed as a Ret Paladin one time in BC because I could not afford, or maybe they didn't have respec at the time. I don't remember, but healer, like, so fucking hard to find a healer, right? I healed as a Ret Pally, which was incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
What?
It took a lot of sitting and mana potting, like,
Yeah.
to get through. But I did it just because we needed it out of necessity, right?
Yeah.
Like, for whatever reason, I
Yeah.
couldn't go holy, and maybe it was respec wasn't there yet or something. But I remember doing it, and we defeated the dungeon, and it was amazing. It took fucking forever, but it was amazing.
Yeah.
And that's one of those situations like. We're not going to be, you'll never see that again because that's not the way it is. That's not the way it was supposed to be played, all this stuff. But the reality is you could adapt to the situation to a certain degree and accomplish it. And nowadays everything is just so fucking cookie cutter. Like,
and the problem, that's the reason it is that way, and the reason it's predictable, and the reason it's cookie cutter because they turned this shit into a goddamn fucking sport, right?
Yeah.
You have your world first races, so obviously, you can't have it so that it's
it's got to be normalized.
Yeah, it's got to be normalized. Everybody has to have the same experience or it's pointless. Same thing with the dungeons. And it's like, I don't want that game. I want the game where I go in, get people together, go in and see whatever the fuck we can do, right? And we do it however we can figure out how to do it. Because, it's like maybe we don't have the ideal setup, or maybe in the middle of a boss encounter, somebody does something wrong or pulls threat or whatever, or something goes sideways and we have to recover. You know what I mean? It's just like I want more unknown aspects to it. I don't want to go in and say, okay, well, he's going to do his moves in this order and we have to do that. And, it's like, if you think back to
that's right. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say, when you think back and you go back to Battle for Dazar Lore, the giant gorilla boss that you fight, he does have, and there were several bosses that had a similar mechanic where he'll do moves right after the other, and the tanks have to taunt so they don't get two of the same one. Like he would do 2 smashes and a bite or something like that, and you can only take 1 smash and a bite, but you couldn't take 2 smashes because the second one would kill you, so you had to do the taunt. That required quite a bit of paying attention and all that stuff, but you knew it was coming. You knew what you had to do for it and all this other shit. And it's just like, there was just no, okay, if you fucked up, and that was the fight, or you got a battle. That was it,
yeah.
It's like, there's no recovery.
There's no recovery.
Yeah. Everything is, it's either
one shot or
do the mechanic, or restart the fight.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of
Like you couldn't send your
Right.
pet up there and have it take the or whatever it
So-
was or something.
So would you want something more like the Ashara fight, right? Where you had random elements, right? Maybe not the Ashara fight, but the fight where we had to do certain things, right? Oh my god. In
the
Ashara.
fight where we had
That-
to do
Remember
certain
that.
things.
No, the the fight where
We did all the certain things.
No, the dance one or whatever with the council. The third to the last boss.
Yeah.
Where you had to do specific things. But so you have to do specific things, but less things, okay, to account for the fact that they're going to be random, but at random, so they weren't in any particular order. Like, you know how they were in an order.
Help me visualize this because I can't think of what this is.
It's the big room after the jellyfish, and it has the banners around the outside. And you got Paresh and whatever, and the tanks swap them back and forth. You keep them separated.
And you have to
And they would
stand
have
in the circles or
run
run
your
out of the
stuff out,
circles.
stand in the bubble, kill the things, that kind of stuff. That fight had a
I
lot of
think that was-
interesting. Go ahead.
That was a fun fight.
Yeah.
But I think there was still a scenario there where
Sure. I mean,
like one fuck up, like that was it.
yeah. Well, so I mean, less mechanic, because there were a lot of mechanics in that fight, right? So maybe less mechanics, but more randomized. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe instead of
Less
6
predictability,
mechanics,
I get you,
right?
yeah.
Maybe instead of 6 mechanics that you had to account for, there were 3 mechanics that you had to account for, but they could happen at any time. They weren't on a cycle. They weren't, you know what I mean? Now,
Yeah,
I don't know that you could actually program that to be like that. And also make them not so punishing when you fail them that you can't recover from them.
And I think that's it. I think so. We're heroes, right? We're adventurers,
Heroes!
and our whole goal is to go out and defend stuff. And you know what I mean? And the whole thing.
No, it's not. Our goal is to go out and kill everything that moves
Yeah.
Well, okay.
in
What-
defense of Azeroth.
So, but think about it, right? Any good fantasy book, your heroes have a very what do I want to call it? A very
shiny plate of armor,
Hmm.
nice horse.
yeah, they have that, but
Specific
like
skill set.
they go out. Yes, they have a very specific set of skills, and if I find you, I'll kill you. No, like they go out and like they always have like adversity, right? Like
Sure.
whenever they go out and do something, it's never
Easy.
easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like there's always problems or something happens or whatever. But there's that whole feeling of getting brought down low and
Right.
bouncing back from that. So if you had fights where you had that, where you could be against the ropes and still make a comeback, do you know how good that
Hi-
fucking feels?
Kind of like the chess game in Kara where Medivh cheats.
Yeah, even then, that's still
It is,
Well,
and it's
think
something
about
you
it.
could take account for, but it's kind of like that, right? Like,
kind of. But
Think about the times that we've randomly, because we've done this a lot. We've randomly defeated a boss in the raid on a whim at the very end with
Oh, yeah.
like
Yeah,
a small amount of people. But that was like it's so like
you beat the odds.
yes, that's badass and that's really cool. But again, that was us being neutered halfway through the fight
yeah,
because of this topic that we're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
But
you know
that's
what I mean?
what I mean. If the fights were more like we managed to bulldoze through some of that stuff, right? Where
every fight's tank is fake.
yeah, and it's just like where we're sitting there, and then we something happens, and we are devastated, or we lose a few people, and now everything else is harder, but we still go on. Maybe we get one of them back up, maybe we don't, but we still push on, and hope against hope, whatever we end up eking out, and like the boss has 0.5% of health left, and we have a tank and a healer up, and they somehow manage to to kill the boss.
Safety dance.
And yeah, and it's just like, you know what I mean? And it's just like, and then the boss dies and everybody's like pumped because it's
I
like,
think-
you didn't think we were going to do it and we fucking did it.
I think. Sorry, go ahead.
And it's just, there's not a lot of that there. There's not a lot of opportunity for that to happen because most of the fights are set up so that if you fuck up these mechanics, you pretty much just consider it a wipe. Which is why half the time when we lose a couple people, it's like, all right, wipe it up and let's start again.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like there's no.
I think the
there's not
Sire
even-
Denathrius fight was a lot like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's cool that you have so many different phases and you do so many different things, and I really feel like the Sylvanas fight is probably gonna be just like this.
Yeah.
Just by what it reads. And I don't like that. I don't like the fact that like we're doing so damn well, and then like one tiny little mistake and that's it. Come on.
Well,
Like,
that's what I mean.
So I think that what part of that probably is the enrage mechanics, right? They've made the enrage mechanics in every goddamn fight now, right? Everything has a DPS requirement. Everything has a rage mechanic. So you can't get that safety dance thing where you've got a tank and a healer up and they manage to whittle it. And it takes 30 minutes, but they manage to whittle away that last 1%. You can't do that anymore. Now you're going to get that enrage and that's it. You're done, right? There's no way. So I think that is partly contributes to that not being able to feel like you've overcome it, even, just with a couple of people, because you don't have that chance anymore. You're stuck. As soon as you hit that enrage, boom, that's it. You're done. The boss wipes you and they're like, nope, that's it. You don't have any more chances to shine or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think enrage mechanics are okay as long as they are, maybe make it more of a soft enrage where like every time the boss kills somebody, he gets a little bit more pumped up.
Kind of like how it used to be in like ZG or
I don't remember.
CA.
I don't remember, but you know what I mean?
Gee,
It's like the boss is like, I killed one of you guys, like 2% more damage.
That was how it was with the fight with the ghosts and stuff in ZG. Like every time he killed somebody, he got stronger.
I think that's a soft enrage mechanic, and it doesn't make the boss unkillable.
Right.
I mean, enough people dying would make it unkillable, but you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we should get a buff when our raid members die. Like
we should,
like God, I can't believe this. Screw you.
Right, we should be mad because one of our raid members has fallen, and we've gone into a frenzy now or something.
All right, now 10 of you die, so we can get the 10% buff.
I mean,
right?
I would more so be mad at them for dying.
I mean, okay,
Yeah, no,
but
I mean,
you're
okay,
still
okay,
you're still
Like,
mad.
if they do, if they do, then yeah.
But,
or maybe you just teabag them and you get a buff.
Yeah.
make it a hidden achievement.
Teabagging your friends.
T for 2. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, it's been a good time. We
good chat. I like it.
It's a good time.
Yeah, we went on and on about druids.
Oh my God, Jesus! You know what?
No,
Just cut that out.
Cut it out. No, we talked about class
Cut it
changes and all that other kind of stuff, around that, and about how some of that stuff may or may not work. Talked about the sloth pet a little bit. Talked about the text-to-speech stuff that's going to be coming out. Talked a little bit about some old raid mechanics and how maybe they could be a little bit better and not be just the invincible superheroes that we are.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Never mind. I'll save it for like next time. or something.
You can't do that.
No, I was
It's
just gonna.
conspiracy.
I
No.
was just gonna. No, I was just gonna tack on to that. How I kind of miss. I don't like us being heroes the way that we are. Like how Brian was saying. I want us to go back to being just everyday schlubs who come in and, through tenacity and, our desire to do the right thing, we're overcoming these things, and not because we're somebody special, not because we're the mall walker or we're the...
Unfortunately, that is part of every hero journey, right? You start off as nobody, just doing a few good things. Your name gets more popular, and you just keep overcoming more and more difficult challenges. And, I mean, look at, Dritz in all, like, the Forgotten Realms stuff. Like, all those people, they started kind of, like, as nothing and just basically became living legends. You know what I mean? And because they have skills and accomplishments and all that stuff. And the same thing with us is our skills and our accomplishments have led us on to bigger and more threatening things. It's like, we pushed the Burning Legion back, went to Outlands, defeated the Lich King, all this other shit, it's just like we, helped save the planet from whatever, and, being in proximity to Azerite somehow imbued us with even more power. And it's just like, how do you reset that? You can't.
Yeah.
I guess I
Yeah.
thought
I agree
Shadowlands
with her. I wish.
would kind of reset that, and maybe that's where I was disappointed. I almost wish that
technically, yeah, we should be a nobody, but we're also mortals in, in the afterlife where everybody else is spirits. So, whatever, so to speak, and our proximity to our world soul is what has allowed us to, get out of the maw and become the maw walker, and it's just like we're in a strange new land, but our abilities and our powers have just, allowed us to do things that most people can't do, and we're still doing the same thing. And it's just like we're still living legends because we haven't died, even though we're in the afterlife. So,
yeah, I don't know how you fix that.
I don't even think I think at this point, like, I'm sure at a certain point, like, obviously they're making up story at this point. Like anything that they had written in the past to walk through, right? I think we've churned through almost all of it.
Yeah.
So, like, there's just no going back at this point. Like, I think they had a great opportunity at some point in time to have a game like that.
Yeah.
But they probably never will, and that kind of sucks because it would be kind of cool to be just a blacksmith in the middle of town or something like that.
I mean,
but then again, like there's just not a lot of. It's a combat focused game, and most MMOs since EverQuest, unfortunately, have been fucking combat focused games. And
the only way they can do
other
this,
than Star Wars Galaxies, boom.
Well, Final Fantasy does that too. They have the crafters. There's a crafter end game. There's, you do have to get through the main story on a combat class, but you can, once you do that, you can just spend your entire time crafting. And
even the main character in there is a living legend. He's the warrior of light.
Oh,
He's the icon slayer. You know, and it's just like it seems like they tried to do something like that at the end of Legion when they depowered the Legion artifacts.
Yeah.
Right? They took power away, or they made them unstable, at the end, so you could still use them until the thing came out and they were just dead dummies. But how do they do that to us?
Mm.
And it's just like, so maybe at the end of Shadowlands, all the power we get will potentially be used to restore that stuff. Did you fart, Brian?
Did you hear that?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
hard.
Right
No,
by.
I heard it. Maybe that stuff will be used to restore. We give it up, and then everything goes back, and nobody remembers it, and we're just kind of back to being like just normal, whatever we are, with normal levels of power, no different than other people, and the only thing that makes us better is just our indomitable will kind of thing.
Right.
Like willpower thing. And now we're just back to dealing with normal threats that are not cosmic level.
Right.
But it's probably just going to go on until we're basically the new pantheon of the multiverse. And, we sit on, a starlit throne above the inky blackness that is, everything. And, yep. And then that's the end of World of Warcraft because it's now the universe of Warcraft.
It just sucks because it feels like WoW 2. I mean, that's clearly never going to happen now. It sucks, but it also, when you think about it, what would they do that's different? The only thing that they would really do is split their player base. You know what I mean? And they've already done that.
Start earlier in history, but not like Star Wars Republic, whatever that game is called.
The Old Republic.
What?
Yeah.
No. Okay. What they need to do is they need to go back to the beginning of Azeroth, and everybody can just be trolls because that's all there was. And we just lived through the first sundering of them pulling the thing out.
There's a lot though. There's a lot like if they started the story, if they started an MMO based on an earlier time, like they could get away with that, you know. And maybe it's obviously not going to be a smash hit or whatever they're looking for to avoid product cannibalization. But
Right.
you know, if they're doing fan service and they want to retain those certain types of fans, then give them
Fucking
something
just
like
make them, you know, single player games or, you know, multiplayer games that you can just play through it, like kind of like the Baldur's Gate games that were the hack and slash ones. You know what I mean? Just make some games like that where you could go through and it's like, this is gonna be, you know, just, you know, Warcraft Orc clans, and you go make a character and you just kind of go live through some of like Orc clan history type stuff. You know,
not like a direct remake of Warcraft 1 or 2 or something like that.
No,
an
but
actual
before-
like different
yeah,
game that
before the-
explores the story. And
yeah,
everything.
before the Dark Portal or anything like that. Just kind of like what Draenor would have been had, you know, it gone even further back in the past before the Dark Portal, but before like the Gul'dan stuff, and you can kind of live through that and join a clan, do some story stuff, and maybe see, you know, Blackhand rise to power, or, you know, be a part of that kind of story or something. I don't know. Anyway, we did a tangent on our closing, so thanks everybody for listening. We're going to go ahead and call it a day. You can check us out at facebook.com/server restart in, or shoot us a tweet at server_restart. And until next week, have a good day.
Bye.
Like